Get ready, because our boy is about to start cooking up something epic. Before we dive into this insane battle of the S-rank players, smash that like button to boost the channel. Your support means everything. Chief is about to spill the beans on how Taehyun pulled off the ultimate survival move in this crazy ordeal. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be off the charts.
He didn't expect that Nehru would have monsters hidden on top of his head. He was like Medusa. Taehyun wondered what's the deal with that guy. The civilians asked Taehyun if he's there to rescue them. Taehyun nonchalantly threw them using his chains and told them that they were all in his way. His attention shifted to the monster noises. Since there were so many of them who were on their way to him, the monsters struck him. But Taehyun easily sliced them with his dagger. He emerged from being surrounded by the monsters. Taehyun was surprised that several monsters were on their way towards him, and the impact of the attack of the monsters created an explosion. Nehru commented that Taehyun was a fool. He told him that he shouldn't have treated the monsters from the skill contract with the devil the same as the monsters that he had seen until now, and using his magic, the monsters became sturdier than other monsters. Kim Taehyun got hit and he coughed up blood. Nehru uttered that just because Taehyun defeated Ryohei, he shouldn't have thought of defying God's will. The civilians were worried because they thought that Taehyun was completely being overpowered. One person even complained that when they asked Taehyun to save them, Taehyun did as he pleased. But now it looked like he can't win against those monsters. A person corrected this man that that is not what's happening in there. The old man who spoke told them to look carefully. Then he explained that thanks to Taehyun, the monsters aren't paying any attention to them. He added that despite being overpowered with the monsters, Taehyun was far from running away and he's not allowing a single monster to come their way. Almost all of the people looked mind-blown. The old man added that Taehyun had evacuated the hostages over to that side by throwing them up in the air just now. They cheered for Taehyun and expressed their trust in him. Taehyun used his chains to fight. It choked several monsters, and with that, he brought them down. Then he yelled for everyone to shut up. The people were confused. Even Nehru. Taehyun complained that the hostages kept getting in his way and the damn monsters kept coming at him. He yelled that he couldn't do that stupid shit anymore. It was funny how that made the civilians sweat heavily. Nehru laughed and asked if Taehyun is deciding to give up. Then Taehyun yelled, "So please end this quickly. Play your part, Ji-won." Nehru was taken aback. A man entered the room. Nehru was confused about who that person was, and when he had entered, Ji-won had a blue ball of light on his palms. He apologized to Taehyun for making him wait for a long time, and there he goes. Earlier, Ryohei was unconscious, and Ji-won had encountered that body. Ji-won asked Kim Taehyun what it was about. Taehyun explained that those are the security team guys who are in cahoots with the terrorists. Ji-won couldn't believe that it happened while he was gone. Taehyun told him that they had more pressing issues at hand. Taehyun explained that the warp gate control room is swarming with monsters by Nehru. Fighting the villains isn't a huge problem, but it's the fact that the monsters won't sit still when they see the civilians. And above all, the people could get swept into all of it. And so, he told Ji-won that he needed his skill, the gate manipulation. Ji-won was surprised. He explained that he wanted to help, but unless he knew the exact warp point, connecting the gate with the association side was going to be impossible. Taehyun told him that it doesn't matter, since he's only after one thing. Ji-won looked at him with disbelief. Taehyun planned to send out the monsters. The warp gate glowed. It was getting activated. The monsters were being sucked in, and they slowly disappeared in the room. Nehru couldn't believe it. He was so confused about what just happened. When Ji-won first heard the plan, he thought it was absurd. No one would have actually thought that it would work. Now, only Nehru and the terrorists are left. That made Park Ji-won think that they are about to win. Taehyun called his name loudly. He then instructed Ji-won that his role is over, so he should take the hostages with him and leave at once. Nehru jumped to the level where Taehyun is. Taehyun explained that in that fight, he can't protect anyone. Nehru was enraged. He called out Taehyun's name angrily. Taehyun had the nerve to mock him. Jeonwon was torn. He led everyone to the door. Taehyun watched them leave. Now all that's left is his fight. Nehru threw a large fireball at him. Taehyun looked serious as he dashed away. He attacked Nehru with his chains, and it sent several debris flying in the air. Nehru called him a fool and doubted that he's an S-ranker like him. Nehru covered his arm in flames. The flame turned into a form of a dragon, and then he asked if a kid like Taehyun could actually stop him. Taehyun braced himself for the attack. The attack was so powerful that it caused a large explosion in the room. Nehru turned white and several monsters appeared. He told Taehyun that it doesn't matter how many monsters he had killed. He called Taehyun a filthy non-believer. And so, Taehyun would receive a punishment for his sin of soiling the name of God. And that punishment is death. Several monsters charged towards him. He told Nehru that he will be the one who will die there. Taehyun activated a skill, and it created the same dragon-like monster that Nehru made earlier. Now, its prey is Nehru. It had a wide mouth. Nehru was in great disbelief. He wondered if Taehyun had hidden his real power all this time. Nehru laughed, and it became louder. He expressed that he acknowledged that Taehyun is the highest quality sacrifice, but Taehyun isn't the only one who's hiding his powers. People came out of the warp. The terrorists were choking and coughing up blood, and they were slowly reduced to ashes. Taehyun was in utter shock. Nehru declared that all sacrifices had been offered. A strange creature crept out of Nehru's back. A green dragon-like monster appeared. It was a rank S bone dragon. A few moments earlier, it can be seen from the outside that the civilians led by Jeonwon were faced against some of the terrorists. Jeonwon complained how there's still so many terrorists. The terrorists wondered if those people escaped from the floor above. The terrorists had the idea that since those civilians had run away, it would be okay to have them killed, but the terrorists started coughing blood. They screamed in pain while Jeonwon and the rest watched them. Jeonwon gazed out the window because of explosions coming from the other side of the building. He wondered what was happening. The large monster attacked Taehyun. Taehyun was blasted away. Nehru rode the backside of the monster. He uttered, "The dragon is the strongest of all." Taehyun's chains appeared, and he stuck that on the wall while he held the other end to stop himself from falling. And when he finally lifted himself up, it broke and he found himself on the safe ground. He was breathing heavily. Taehyun was confused on where the monster came from. When he lifted his gaze, he was horrified. The dragon was in front of him, and its mouth had a ready laser beam to blast at him. Taehyun was stunned. He took the dragon's attack with his body, and it blasted him to the other side of the building. Not one to take a beating lying down, Taehyun attacks with Predation, only for the dragon to shrug it off and counter with a massive fire breath blast. Hanging like a puppet with cut strings, Taehyun's chains manage to keep him from falling to his death as he tries to catch his breath. He now understands why S-rank players are looked at as demigods, but he doesn't know how much longer he can continue this fight. He assumes it was the same for the terrorist, with both of them reaching their limits. However, things didn't go as expected, as Nehru, calling Taehyun a troublesome sinner, sets his sights on the hostages that escaped him earlier. All looks hopeless as Nehru comes within striking range and attacks. To him, they all are the same before his god. Back at the Players Association headquarters, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation as reinforcements were being mobilized. The final preparations were meticulously underway, with each team running through last-minute strategies. Unfortunately, despite their best efforts, only one gate could be successfully connected to the auction site. The uncertainty of what lay beyond the gate weighed heavily on everyone's minds. The team leader stepped forward. His voice cut through the tension, delivering a powerful speech aimed at boosting the morale of his team. With a final rallying cry, the team leader led them toward the gate, ready to face whatever challenges awaited on the other side. Coming to, Park Gaeon-woong was shocked to realize he was still alive. He had been certain that the attack by the Bone Dragon had extinguished the spark they called life. However, his daze was abruptly broken by Taehyun's urgent command to get his butt in gear and leave the area. Park insisting that Taehyun should forget about them and focus on handling the Bone Dragon. He believed their fate was sealed. but Taehyun's wasn't if he just abandoned them. Taehyun, however, cut him off sharply, telling him to stop the bullshit as it was making him lose focus. Nothing Taehyun was doing seemed to be working, and he was slowly losing this tug of war with the monstrous creature. The summoner's sinister laughter echoed through the battlefield, and the bone dragon breath was beginning to overpower Taehyun. The taunting from the front and the desperate pleas from behind were starting to drive Taehyun mad. He racked his brain, frantically trying to devise a strategy to turn the tides of this seemingly hopeless battle. The pressure was immense, but Taehyun knew he couldn't afford to give up. The lives of everyone depended on his next move. Nehru told him to die while he went after Taehyun. Taehyun was already pissed off to that meatless fucking dragon skeleton. He thought that Predation was going berserk. He wondered if it's the end for him. He thought how he's dying pointlessly, especially after all the time it took for him to get where he is. His body is cracking. He had a strong will not to die, and he maintained this will even until his arm already fell off. Taehyun couldn't hold himself up any longer. He landed on the pool of his blood. Nehru was greatly affected by his attack. He wondered if Taehyun forced his skill to go berserk.
Time out, time out, time out. How Taehyun got the hostages out of the way was pure genius. His monster slaying was on point, but even with Predation active, our boy still got bodied. This battle is intense.
Even I thought Taehyun got in way over his head this time. Being from the future, he has knowledge of events, but not the details behind them. This lets him prepare for what's ahead to some degree, but it also means he's navigating some serious unknowns.
So who comes in to save the day? You guessed it, the team they assembled at headquarters finally makes it just in time to back Taehyun up before it's too late. With their combined skills and strategy, they're ready to turn the tide and take this battle to the next level.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
The final boss says,
Respect my authority!
A ridiculous amount of energy overwhelms Nehru, and what's even harder to understand for him is that Taehyun couldn't handle the load of his skills and fainted already, but the skill hasn't stopped. That made Nehru angry. He uttered how daring it was for a non-believer. He targeted Taehyun's unconscious body. The dragon claws appeared, but all of a sudden that arm was chopped off. Nehru couldn't process what had just happened. Next thing he knew, Taehyun was back on his feet, and when he turned around, he saw something that would be enough to make him tremble. A gigantic, ominous red creature had appeared. It had multiple heads, and it was even larger than the freaking building. It roared loudly. Nehru uttered, "What on earth?" Kim Taehyun mocked him for saying something about God. He told Nehru what a joke. Nehru knew he was doomed. He was horrified. He asked, "Who are you?" He knew that was no longer Taehyun, especially with that immense power. The person inside Taehyun replied that is no damn concern to an insect, because after all, Narendra Nehru is already dead. Nehru couldn't follow the conversation. Red blades touched his body, and it released a powerful attack that painted the area crimson red. The system notified him of a new skill called demonic contract. Taehyun found himself in a dark place. He was confused since he was just with Nehru. All of a sudden, the chains appeared, and it tied up Taehyun. He wondered what was happening. After being tied up, large boulders came crashing on him. He recognized that it was his skills, stone skin, and paralysis. He asked himself, what the hell is going on? A pair of hands appeared, and the king's authority showed up, which led him to feel immense pain. He felt like he's being burned alive. He wondered why his skills were attacking him. Then he heard a voice that mocked him for calling it his skills. The voice asked, since when were those his powers? When he just ate all of that, and now the voice forced him to spit out all he took in. Several monsters charged towards him, but he couldn't do anything except to watch it. All of a sudden, there was an intense, bright light. A pillow and a blanket were thrown in the air. Taehyun fell off the bed. He was panting. While sweating heavily, he realized that it was just a dream. He looked at his hand and saw that he's not hurt, and his right arm that Predation broke down is now fine. Sungjin came in and saw that he's already up. He's surprised to see Sungjin there. Sungjin offered him some food. The table was filled with snacks. While having a snack, Sungjin explained that the association and the alchemists prepared the place for him as a way to show courtesy to repay him from what he did during the terror attack. Sungjin added that it was thanks to Kim Taehyun that even Ryohei got arrested after falling for the terrorists' temptations. Compared to the scale of the terror attack, many actually survive. Sungjin informed Taehyun that countless people already visited him out of worry, from his parents to chairmen, and they were bawling their eyes out. Sungjin explained to him that the tests didn't show any health issues in the first place, and Sungjin stayed behind just in case villains or reporters got involved. Taehyun was quiet, and then he expressed that he was certain that he passed out while fighting Narendra Nehru. He wondered what on earth happened. Sungjin replied, "As I thought, you're the same." Taehyun asked him what he meant. Sungjin expressed that he wanted to ask him about that too. Back then, Jeon-won had seen him. Taehyun has red hair and he stood there. After ending Nehru in one strike, and Jeon-won instinctively knew that it was Taehyun, but at the same time, he's not. Jeon-won inquired what that person had done to Taehyun, but that caused Jeon-won immense fear. When Taehyun looked at him, Taehyun looked really scary, and it seemed like he's going to attack him. Jeon-won trembled in fear. Then he coughed up blood and immediately lost consciousness. Taehyun noticed his red arm was disappearing. He knew that he reached his limit. He smiled as he decided to return for now, but he made sure that it would only be for the meantime. Then Kim Taehyun's body fell to the ground. It looked like he was sleeping peacefully. All of a sudden, someone came running. It was Sungjin, and in panic, he woke up Taehyun. The rest of the team checked and confirmed the survivors in the area. It was reported that everyone was just unconscious, and it doesn't look like their lives are in any danger. Another person was concerned that the whereabouts of the terrorists and Nehru were unknown. Sungjin cursed. He kept calling Kim Taehyun's name. He couldn't understand what just happened there. When Taehyun heard that, the shock was evident on his face. Sungjin narrated that after that, he asked the survivors about what happened. All of them remembered Taehyun stopping Nehru, but they couldn't recall the overall situation at all. Sungjin expressed that it's as if something had messed with the memories of the survivors. He assumed that it must be the terrorists doing it. He started to leave and wished Taehyun to take good care of himself. He informed Taehyun that if he finds something else, he will get in touch with him. Deep inside, Taehyun knew that it can't be Nehru's doing. He's also confused since he had no idea how he got healed, but he was certain that his arm got destroyed because of predation, and he knew that Nehru fell prey to predation since it informed him that demonic contract rank B had been registered. With that, Taehyun had the ability to open the gate to the abyss. That caught his attention. He realized that it was a skill to summon monsters. It required 200 magic, but his current magic at the moment is only 180. Sungjin went back and called him to say that there's another visitor. Taehyun was surprised. Liam A-young appeared. Taehyun's surprised face was funny. With that, Sungjin truly left this time. Liam A-young told him that she's there to visit him, and she gave him a basket of fruits.
If you're finding this story engaging, feel free to drop a comment below. I'd love to discuss the unfolding narrative and hear your thoughts. And if you're enjoying the tales shared, don't forget to hit that like button. For more captivating stories like this, simply click on any of the links by my side, and together, let's dive into more immersive worlds. Your feedback and interaction make this journey all the more exciting.